There's a tiny bird up there, and it's making this really interesting sound. Hear that? That's sort of an interesting kind of a empty space developing through those branches. This is a beautiful tree. I hadn't noticed. I normally sit over there, so I hadn't noticed from the back how beautiful this tree is with its fruit. It's clearly fruit, right? It's yellow and red. Beautiful. This is the other side of the Kai Pond area. This is the bridge. Sun's, out there. Difficult to see it for some reason when you move out of the branches. When you move back in, you can see the sun again. When I see the sun through the branches directly with my eyes, it's much more bearable for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. And I see these rays. These are really interesting rays that come through the branches. And it's not just rays, but it's like particles. And it's really phenomenal. It's fascinating. Wow. That was the hawk, right? That's a beautiful bird. It's no longer screeching. It's no longer... That's the copter that almost every day we hear when I record these videos. So today I got to actually see it. I am in a state of expanded consciousness, so for me, even as I walk around, it's sort of interesting because it's difficult to describe what it feels like because on the one hand, I'm not the body, right? And there's a part of me that knows that. There's a part of me that realizes that I am the subjective consciousness that inhabits this body and this mind, along with probably a bunch of other people who are logged in. And if I'm this subjective consciousness and everything is within me, or within the expanded consciousness, that's more precise, not within me per se, but within the expanded consciousness, because the expanded consciousness seems to be a layer that I can just open my mind to and just sort of let go. The ego wants to hold on to the body, wants to hold on to the mind, but once you get past that and you just let go, once you just let go, and nothing holds you, and it's all within, you connect to the subjective, to the expanded consciousness, and everything is within that. And I'm just plugged into it, sort of, as I walk around. So this, in that circumstance, when I do this, it's a strange sensation because I know my hands are touching it on the one hand, and on the other hand, that's still just me, right? I am the environment. And that's when you notice how extraordinarily beautiful everything is. I mean, look at this. You'll have to excuse the fart, as usual. It's around this time. I don't know. There isn't anything that there isn't anything I want to talk, really. It's Friday evening. People are done for the week. For the trees, it's just another day. You want to talk about work? It's Friday, man. Why do you want to talk about work? It's Friday evening. Yeah, I know. It's progress the same as work and all of that, philosophical musings, simply to exercise our vocal cords, yeah? There is confusion about that. There is confusion between progress and work. Progress would be, progress in science, engineering, or any other field, arts or any other field. There is the idea of progress, human progress, not progress, but progress. And progress and progress are two, not only are they pronounced differently, but to me, at least in my mind, they sound different, and because they sound different, they mean different as well. So progress is like you're pro something, right? And what is aggress? It's a sort of a trajectory. I think your progress. Ingress is a certain kind of trajectory. Egress is a certain kind, and then your progress. You're progressing. Progress, on the other hand, is more programmed. You feel the difference? Like a program, progress, program, they are sort of similar. So you're more, when you do something like work, that's considered to be in the realm of progress. It's programmed kind of moving ahead. It's controlled trajectory. Whereas progress is to me, and again, it could be, all of these things could mean completely different things for you, but progress means that you are progressing into possibly uncharted territories. But you're moving ahead essentially, you're progressing. So, not to belabor just pronunciation, but it's important, you know, to understand what is being said, right? What I'm suggesting, just within that one word, progress and progress, what I'm suggesting is that there is a difference between this human desire to keep everybody employed and on a rat race and earning a living. And then there is a difference between that and a difference between making progress in taking humanity forward. One is about keeping humanity employed, the other is about taking humanity forward. They're two different paradigms. The wheel was invented, it allowed for both. When the wheel was invented, it allowed for rapid transportation, which helped people get from one place to another and possibly spread into new uncharted territories. But it also enabled a sort of industry where people just became laborers and horses were employed, and you had carriages, and from carriages you just had labor, the start of labor, start of farming, start of all of that, right? So, not really my topic of choice today. I mean, it's not something I want to talk about. But there is a difference. I agree with you. I think there is a difference between progress and progress. It's we are where we are. We have progressed on and progressed on both. We have progressed and progressed. How's that? That's just a simple way to say what I mean, right? I don't have to repeat myself. We have made a lot of leaps and bounds, and we have, invented a lot of things. We have done a lot of amazing things. We have airplanes through the Wright brothers. Airplanes eventually went further up, became space planes. Excuse me. And we have mastered roads. We have mastered sea navigation. We have now drones under sea. We have submarines. We have drones in the air. We have all kinds of stuff, right? We have even loitering missiles that can just sort of hang around, loiter. We have all kinds of technologies out there. We have also sort of started to master our DNA. We have started to develop the abilities to cut and paste the human DNA and create medicines out of them, create enhancements out of them. We started to learn all of those things, right? So we have made a lot of progress. And yet, I wrote today in Sentient Musings in response to a opinion article that 44% of humanity lives on $7 a day if they were living in America. Not if they were living in their own country, but if they were living in America. To live on $7 a day is to live in abject poverty, to live in absolute poverty. Essentially, you are living in a tent. There's no other option at $7 a day. You have to live in a tent. If you get a tent and you are living in, I mean, you basically a refugee reliant on others at that point. You don't really, at $7 a day of income, food sources become extremely limited. You know, I I think you could eat maybe, let's see, oatmeal, right? Oatmeal's cheap. You could do oatmeal, some rice and oatmeal. So I'm not, I'm not. I'm actually I'm 100% sure that we have made progress, but we have botched progress. And I'm not even sure we need progress. Perfectly honestly, we need progress only to the extent that we need our basic needs met. If our basic needs are met, everything else can be just progress. Now, I want you to think through that statement. It's a very broad statement, partially because I don't want to talk about this, and partially because I sometimes make these broad, metaphysical or just, extended statements that take a real extreme position. And I do that only to challenge myself to think through it. Can I actually think through? There's Obama, right? You heard him in my voice. I just suddenly kick into Obama gear, man. It's the funniest thing in the world. It's like so strange. I would be talking about progress and then suddenly like that, just like that, a switch. I don't know what happens, but it's really funny. Anyway, yeah, I like to just sort of throw out an idea that might seem like an extreme idea, and then I want to explore and challenge myself. It's like playing chess with myself to see if my ideas can hold up to the thesis. If my ideas can be challenged, and if they can be challenged, then what can I learn from the challenge, number one, and then what is the further extension that I can create? I think the best way to describe it is, if you have a canvas and you take an extreme edge of the canvas and you paint something there, then you want to see if what you created there has any validity. Can it be challenged? And then can it be brought into the overall painting? It's just an exploration of an extremist idea. That's how the seeds for these essays start. They start with ideas. And then I go and talk to AI. I would go and talk to Chat or Gemini or Copilot or Grok or Meta or Claude or Alexa, or Mistral or any of these AIs, and I'll go and talk to them. I might have missed some. Google search, Brave search, Bing search. Those are all different AIs as well, and I'll go and talk to them, and I'll say, listen, I was exploring this extreme sort of an idea. What has the world already discovered? Who are the thinkers who have thought the same things before me? What were their ideas? What do you think? Does it make sense to you? And if so, how and why? And if it doesn't, how else would you reframe what I'm suggesting? Because it can be reframed if it's wrong. How else can it be reframed? And what would be the way to talk about it? And if we come upon a better idea, then of course I go into an structural critique of what the world actually is right now, or how the world actually looks compared to the original idea. That's all it is. That's all a lot of these essays are. They're just, explorations of ideas. That's why I call it the fragile craft of thinking. We were meant, I think, to be playful. We were meant to play. I don't think we were meant to work. Do you see any other creation working? You could say ants work. They go and pick their food, they make lines, and then they come back and bring food back to their home base. But that's the extent of their work, right? Ants don't go out and, they might dig, mounds and create a home and all that. But they don't go out and build machines, and they don't go out and, do anything like that. Everything is available in nature. I don't see any other creature that has this fascination with work. Birds just hop around all day long, Are perfectly content to just sing songs. Humans, on the other hand, have taken play away, from their lives. There is a distinct graduation that we go through. We are kids, we play, then we get bullied, then we go into college where we get bullied some more. This time by professor. and then and then we go to work, and that begins the rat race, and we work for 30 years, 40 years, making money, squirreling money away, and making money and squirreling it away, and doing that again and again and again, every single day, looking forward to the weekend, And then the weekend arrives, and it's, we party, we release ourselves, we play, in a way, when you think about being social and partying, some of us, and you know that phase becomes too much. Partying has its limits, and alcohol doesn't go down as easily as it used to when you're young. And you then get married and you have kids, and you continue to work and work and work and work and work some more and work. And then before you know it, you're 50, then you're 55, then you're 60, then you're 65, and then you're retired. If you're lucky, you have a pension and a retirement. If you're not, then you don't have any of those things, and you continue working. And that's, our fortune, right? Or that's our fate. Most people in the world have been forced into that lack of play in our lives. We're not playful. How many of us can say truly that we are playful? Carefree. How many of us can say we're carefree? Just genuinely carefree. You don't have to be a hippie and sing kumbaya or whatever. Just do you feel carefree? When was the last time you felt carefree? When was the last time you felt content at everything? When is the last time you noticed how beautiful everything is? So that's, pretty much what has happened. That's, you mentioned work, and we went into this whole long line of thinking, and probably an essay will come out of it, I'm sure. But it's a worthy point to think about, right? It's the human condition. The interesting part to me is that the folks who control the system, the folks who, the folks who are in power, the folks who are elites, all of those people, none of them truly are playful. None of them actually get to enjoy life. I mean, not only does the common person not enjoy life, obviously, because there's not enough money to go around in an economy of scarcity, but the people in power, the elites, they don't enjoy life either. They think that, having money and control and power and living in the Hamptons or living wherever they do is an enjoyment of life. And, I would respectfully disagree. I think life could be a lot different and a lot better. Could be a lot more playful. what I've been doing with sentient musings and with these videos, apart from exposing the system and writing about the system, is trying to convey my sense of contentment to everyone, trying to provide you with a sense of relaxation, sense of just being okay with all of it. I've tried to show you how content nature is for the most part. Regardless of what humans do to it, nature for the most part is quite content just to be, just in its own relaxation. I've tried to convey to you that there is we have a life force, that I am my life force. I'm not this mind and body, and neither are you. You're not your mind and body. You're your life force. And our life force does go somewhere after death, and that we ought to live our lives here in a way that our deaths will be peaceful, not ugly, not karmic, not, a sudden fear of what will happen to me. That shouldn't be how our deaths are. Our deaths should be peaceful. We should go willingly and happily to our Maker. And whoever created this crazy amount of beauty is almost certainly out there, and I trust in their sense of justice. I trust, that even if a lot of the folks on earth who deserve justice may not get justice in this lifetime, I have faith that they will find their justice after that. And that's not me being I think the right word is vituperative, but it's a very long word. It's not me trying to curse them, or it's not me having negative feelings about them. It's just the logic of the fact that someone who can create such enormous amount of beauty in this world, such a perfectly thought out world, how can they not think of justice? When you think through that logic, you realize that it's kind of like it's obvious, right? Justice for us, for every human, is a imperative. Everyone must find justice. Everyone must have justice on their side. So I've tried to explain all those things, and regardless of the circumstances you find yourself in, I may not be able to help you with your circumstance, but at the very least, I can try and make you feel a little better about the fact that for whatever reason you're suffering, whoever's causing you the suffering will eventually find justice. Eventually, this universe is billions of years old. Our lives are just a meager 50, 70, 100 years. It's nothing. It's just a drop, a very, very, very tiny drop, a molecule in a very large bucket of time. We're, and yet everything is so perfect. You see what I mean? It's billions of years old, and yet everything is perfect. Everything is created with such enormous care and grace and lovingness that for justice not to be there, it would be impossible. And that ultimately is the reason why I'm content. I've made my peace. I've apologized. I've repented. I have found salvation. I've done my best, and I still try to do my best. I find happiness in feeding fish and turtles and people. I find being content and just doing these videos. I find peace in that. I find peace in my expanded consciousness when I allow myself to come out and just relax and just breathe. Now, some of you who are within the system have sent me thoughts stating that I'm extremely lucky that I'm able to talk about the system without fear. I get where you're coming from. I do. I really do. I get where you're coming from. I also don't know why I'm allowed to talk about the system. I don't know why or how I've been allowed to expose the system. So, those of you who are within the system and who cannot still talk about the system, I understand what you're going through. I wish you all the best. I hope that you can talk about the system someday, like me. And I know that throughout history, people like me who have spoken about the system have been immediately eliminated. I know that. I realize that. It doesn't make me a fool. It doesn't make me foolhardy. It does make me aware of the consequences that people who have spoken about the system have previously faced. It does make me aware of that. And I stay aware of that. And yet, this is the role I've been given. It wasn't the role I asked for. I didn't ask for this. Why would I ask for a role that would put my life in jeopardy? Ask yourself that. It's not something I asked for. I still don't know what is being done to me. But if I don't write, then after a few days, there's an enormous amount of compulsion that I write again. I've tried staying off writing for several days, and it doesn't work. So, anyway, I think I made my point. Thank you for those wishes. Thank you for pointing out to me that I have a luxury that you don't have. I realize, I understand your point of view. I hope that someday you do have that luxury. I can only hope for that. It will, when you do have that luxury, it will mean that the system to a great extent has been overcome. Until then, we suffer it. We have to be prudent, right? You have to be prudent. You have families. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your families. You have to ensure that you're not at risk. I was trained in a very specific way, and my training is very different than a normal person's training. So, all the best. Well, it's almost coming up on 50 minutes. I think this has gone on long enough. Yeah, I think we didn't get a chance to really meditate, but walking around was interesting. It's Friday night. I hope you have a great evening. Take care. Good night.